Welcome to today's featured session, The Blog Era, Hip-Hop's Wild, Wild West. Into today's session, I have some housekeeping notes for you. Our flat stock exhibition right here in the Austin Convention Center, Exhibit Hall 5, will be open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. today. We are running our audience Q&A in this room via Slido. You can find this by opening the session listing in the South by Southwest Go app and clicking on the Engage button. The South by Southwest community concerts at Lady Bird Lake today have been moved to Ballroom A of the Convention Center and will begin at 6 p.m. tonight. Now, without further ado, please welcome to the stage Eric Rosenthal and Jeff Rosenthal.
Check, 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 check. How are you going to rap if you can't even...
I can't miss that.
You want this one?
No? Okay, got it. Hey!
There we go.
South by Southwest, what's happening? I'm Eric.
I'm Jeff.
Together we are ItsTheReal, and the last time we were down in Austin and on a stage was when Atlantic Records flew us down here to host their panel. No, their showcase,
yeah,
what it's called. Yeah,
it
this is a
14
panel.
artists, too many artists.
Yeah, 14 artists. They had Gucci and Cudi and Meek Mill.
Uzi Vert.
Yup, and Ty Dolla $ign and about 9 others.
Yeah.
And so we were on stage, and in between every act, we had to run out there and do our little song and dance. You know, we had to entertain the crowd. 4,000 people over at Stubbs who were just waiting and baking in the really hot weather to see all these artists.
And we had to come out every act and say,
shout out to Tidal, shout out to New Era hats.
Shout out to Monster Energy, Unleash the Beast.
And so you do that for 14 times.
People get a little sick of it.
Yeah.
After 14 times.
When Meek Mill came out late, when the DJ was AWOL, they started booing us, and so we are thrilled to be back on a stage in Austin.
Yeah.
With a much warmer crowd.
Much warmer crowd. You guys haven't booed us once.
Yeah.
Very much appreciate that.
Okay, so 3 years ago, this week, actually, the world shut down. And we had a very popular podcast called A Waste of Time with ItsTheReal, where a lot of artists, anybody from Rick Ross to...
Drake's dad, our mom, everybody came over to our apartment and would like tell their story. And
so we sat down for like a 90-minute conversation at our kitchen table. And when COVID came around, we were like, it's probably not a great idea to do that, you know, with a airborne disease around. So we stopped that, and we were like, let's tell a story in a brand new way. Let's go for something that we really care about. And for that, it was the blog era. And I think we have some artwork, which is really cool. And by the way, if you guys sign up right now and you go to othertone.fm, also by going on that QR code, you can listen to the teaser that we're about to play. But before we get to the teaser, I want to tell you that we have spent the last 3 years on this. This is day and night. This has been more than a passion project. This has been our everything. And we've spoken to 150 people. We've gotten 500 brand new hours of original recordings. And this thing is a movie. It is a 10-part podcast series that we are super proud of. And for the first time ever, we want to play you guys the teaser that you can get now everywhere, on every platform, but especially at othertone.fm, and we're going to play this teaser right now.
Everyone remembers Napster and MySpace from the early 2000s. Today, streaming services are everywhere, and social media is ubiquitous. But the all-important bridge between the aughts and now, when $10 could shift the culture, when businesses were disrupted, when the feds got involved, is a story that for too long has gone untold.
So much of that time was lost. Websites no longer exist. Song links expired. Nah, right, the biggest hip-hop blog there ever was does not even have a Wikipedia page.
This is a project 3 years in the making. We've logged 500 hours of original interviews and are so proud to bring you 10 roller coaster episodes telling the story of the kids behind keyboards who brought entire industries to their knees.
The story of how Drake, Cole, Nicki, Cudi, Curren, and hundreds of other cultural icons took over the world.
The story of how our generation saw the American dream realized and then had it stolen away.
I'm Eric Rosenthal.
And I'm Jeff Rosenthal.
We know this story because we lived it. And together with 150 of our people, we're here to tell this shit right.
We're ItsTheReal, and this is the blog era. Like, subscribe, and listen wherever you get your podcasts starting this April.
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Before we bring out our guests, Jeff, we should just tell the people who may be here and may not know what the blogs are, what blogs were.
Blogs were individualized websites that you could share your personal vision of. I mean, and that relates to anything. It could be your ugly shoes, that could be your stupid dog, but it could also be your vision of hip-hop.
Yeah, so when we talk about the blog era, blogs were not born of hip-hop, right? But the blog era can only be the websites that birthed the careers of people who are running pop culture today, whether that's Drake or J. Cole or Kid Cudi or Nicki Minaj or Wiz or Curren or Mac Miller or Wale and on and on. And there were these gatekeepers that existed at the time, right? Big buildings like MTV and XXL Magazine and Hot 97. And all of a sudden, people like Nah Right and Two Dope Boys and Misinfo and Crunk and Disorderly and Real Talk New York and the smoking section, all these blogs came around and disrupted things. And we are super, super excited to have 3 of those disruptors here today. And we want to introduce them one by one. First, guys, please welcome the founder and creator of Nah Right, Eskay.
How y'all doing?
Next up,
Thank you.
we want to welcome one of the writers from the smoking section, one of the architects of a lot of different websites, including Inflex We Trust. Give it up for Dimplez.
Yeah, oh no, you're saying something else. Yeah.
And guys, give it up for one of the greatest rappers of our time, the face of New Orleans, Curren.
Thanks for that, man. I didn't know you felt like that. That's tight. What's up, y'all?
Okay, so the last time that you 3 were together in Austin was a little show called
Bootleggers and Tastemakers back in 2009.
Yeah.
The smoking section and Nah Right put it together.
And what was really like fascinating about that time was that when you're dealing with the internet in the early 2000s, you're dealing with strangers, you're dealing with anonymous people, you're dealing with people at such a remove. And all of a sudden, you guys take a chance and you put on a live show with all your favorite artists in one place here at South by Southwest in 2009. And all those people who could have been imaginary show up in real life. And Curren and Wiz performed at like 2 p.m. that day. Do you remember how many people were in the audience for that?
A whopping 13.
Yeah.
They were filtering in and out as we did songs, you know.
But I just want to congratulate you guys on the careers you've had since then. And to be back on the stage in front of this crowd, getting celebrated like we are all these years later, says everything. So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us, man.
Can we take it back to 2005 and ask you, Eskay, why would anyone start a blog?
Well, that's the question, right? For me, it was, at the time I read a lot of blogs. There weren't too many that focused on music or hip hop. It was a lot about tech and, maybe a little politics or news, things of that nature. Something I recognized early was this would be a perfect format to cover music. It's chronological, it's easy to read, it just works perfectly for music. So, it might have been a bit of a case of just being in the right place at the right time. The light bulb went off, and I started a blog. One day I started a blog. I had nothing to do at work, fired up the computer and started a site.
And so how do you explain to your family what you're doing when that becomes an actual thing? Like meaning an actual thing, meaning like it's taking up all your time.
I mean, I don't think my family really understood what I was doing at all, you know? Like at the time, I still lived with my parents. I was working a tech job. They had no idea what any of this meant. They never heard the word blog. Most of my friends never heard the word before. I mean, almost nobody had heard the word before, so all they knew is he has a website, you know? He's got a little website. He's posting whatever he's posting. In the beginning, it wasn't, you know, there was hardly no attention. There were a few people visiting. I was posting whatever I wanted to post, and that was it. It was, you know, it wasn't really anything to explain at the time.
So, Spitta, at the time for you, you're coming off of, you know, leaving 3 major labels, right? We're talking about leaving Young Money, leaving Cash Money, leaving No Limit, and going out on your own. Yeah. What's life like for an artist back in like 2005, 6, 7?
Uncertain, you know, because the industry was set up a different way, so I wasn't really sure that what I was doing, you know, would pan out, nor were the people around me. A lot of people around me were like, yo, you were blessed to like be in a situation with a machine, so it doesn't make sense to try to do this, you know, this uncharted whatever you're talking about, you know. I think we all were walking out into something that wasn't there.
Well, because if you're assigned to a label back then, you get a publicist.
Yeah, you feel like you made the whole goal of rap was like to just get signed to something, essentially. Like some people just say that, like I'm signed. That was like I have $1 million in the bank just to say that. You know what I'm saying? So at that point, to walk away from all of that and just assume that I could find people that were all like-minded and that existed in this sub-earth. Because, I mean, the crazy thing about it, when the shit started clicking for me, I was like, it's crazy because people don't want to be a fan of you out front, like in front of everybody, while this shit was just starting. You know what I'm saying? Because the machines were more popular, so it's like, but they would go and just get on the computer and listen to shit all day long. And that's how we ended up, like, you know, flipping it. Like, it was crazy.
Well, can you talk about when you first found out about On Smash?
Yeah, a Google search. My homegirl had typed it in, like, to just see if I was making any waves with the mixtape, like, since I had left Cash Money. And it popped up. Like, there was an article on Smash. There was something on hip-hop, 2 dope boys. That's how we found out about Now Right and everything. She just typed my name in Google, and it popped up. So I just wanted to keep popping up at that point because, like you said, like, the gatekeepers were kind of in the way, and then we came, like, all these blogs came out, and that was the new MTV and the new BET. Like, they were posting my pictures every time I put a song up. So I was like, the way to be seen is to keep putting songs out and make sure that they could find them. Like, they made a lot of us, you know.
But it's so crazy because, like, people take it for granted now. They're just like, oh, yeah, I go online, I go to a website, I see what it is. But at the time, the gatekeepers were really, hey, you got to get a radio promo person to push your record. You got a publicist to put you in XXL magazine. If you want to get on Hot 97, you got to put out that mixtape and hope that it gets in the right hands and get on and get some play. Dimplez, can you talk about gatekeepers? And, you know, nowadays, everyone's online talking about, like, I wish the blog era would come back. I wish there were more gatekeepers. But, like, we've gone through all this time to get rid of gatekeepers. Can you talk about the role of gatekeepers and whether gatekeepers could succeed today?
Oh, that's tough. Back in the blog era, gatekeepers were really important because they were like dedicated pipelines, figures of authority. So it's like if I go to SK's site and he's written about whoever, that guy's cool. That's who I need to go listen to. It mimicked in the way where XXL, you had to go with YN or later on Vanessa. They were the people who were putting the artists that you were feeling were up next in front of the audience that was important. Where that kind of went away was, and this is going to sound really, really strange, I think it was when we started to see people like Diddy arguing with people on Twitter. We was kind of like, okay, bro, like everybody's kind of accessible at this point. Do you know what I mean? Like, because up until then, to get a rise out of Diddy about making a band too, he wouldn't have known. But all of a sudden, he's yelling at people on Twitter in all caps, right? And you're like, dang, he's on this thing too. If he's on here too, there's nothing I can't do. Well, if we're talking about the idea of bringing gatekeepers back, it's going to be very difficult because right now there's too many points of entry. You got over 1 billion people on TikTok, over 1 billion people on Instagram, and nobody's opinion really stands out out of the others. But the thing about the blog era that makes it so special is I feel like that was the last era we really had superstars. Like, you can't go anywhere and say, hey, I'm sitting on stage with Currency and people not know who you're talking about. Do you know what I mean? But, like, I can't tell you who made what's the record with the Perk record?
Which one?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can't tell you who made that. But I promise you that record has streams.
Eskay, when was the first time you knew that your site had power?
It was probably when Miss Info shouted me out on Hot 97. I'm driving in my car, and I had posted about something. It was some story that was happening at the time. I don't even recall what it was. And she cited me as a source, and she shouted me out on Hot 97, and I wasn't expecting it, and I'm just driving along in my car, and you live in New York, you listen to Hot 97, you hear Miss Info doing these news drops every hour or whatever it was that she did it, and that comes on, and I hear it, and I'm like, okay, this might be something.
Currency, I want to talk about regionalism. You come from New Orleans. You're not from New York or LA or Atlanta, typical big cities that you want to get on, you have to come from there.
Yeah, rough stuff, man.
Well, so you had boundaries, right? It was like they put you in a box and, you can only do so much.
For sure.
And then there's places like the smoking section. There's places like Two Dope Boys. There's places like Nah Right. And all of a sudden, your music can be heard everywhere.
Yeah, saved my life.
And that means, though, that bookers come around and they can put you on stages everywhere. And that means more money in your pocket.
People
and that
were
means
able to find each other through those blogs and find out who was in what towns. Promoters were able to even catch out, find out who were the artists and know what kind of audience they had in their town. Just if the people were aware of these blogs in your city, you knew what artists you could bring through.
It's so crazy.
Well, I mean, can you talk about the difference? Because you had been on MTV. You had been on BET before, you start this independent path. Can you talk about the difference between a top-down sort of fandom and a bottom-up?
Yeah, well, the other one was kind of manufactured. It was put together this is the guy who's next. So if you like this and you like this, by default, you love this guy already without even hearing it. You know what I'm saying? And that allowed people to kind of assume what I was going to do and what the sound was going to be. And I didn't want to even be trapped in that, you know what I'm saying? But with the blog and the bottom to the top thing, I was able to cultivate my listeners and show them what I was into and why I sound the way I sound, and give them time to decide if they wanted to stay in the car or not,
Yo, and it's not only like that, but it's also you get to work with whoever you want to work with at whatever schedule you want to work at. Yeah. So you could put out.
No, but Currency works at a super normal schedule.
Nah, just if everybody there was already an understanding. Soon as at that time, bro, if you knew, then you knew. If you were in the know, then you know. And you didn't have to go through this, let me see if this motherfucker is cool. Because clearly you are, because you wouldn't even know, bro. And then the homegirl wouldn't have said anything about you, blah, 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 blah. So it all just...
But you were the worst kept secret, though.
Yeah, it was. That was by my own
bro.
design, too, because I don't really want to hang out with people. Yeah. Every time I get around somebody, they weren't just cool. They were still, doing something, in front of you. So that made me not really hang out with a lot of people.
Yo,
these two fuckers are all right.
Yeah, well, one of my favorite things is the first time we ever met Currency, he was like, yo, do you guys do music? And we're like, yeah. He's like, send me something. So we sent him something, a song called Sugar High, and we waited about 2 years to get it back, but we would text him, and we're just like, yo, where's the song, where's the song, where's the song? You're so prolific.
Yeah.
Have you gotten to our song? And you're like, I'd be high.
Yeah, well, I really just didn't know. I didn't know if y'all really were doing that. I think because I asked y'all to send me music, I was like, okay, clearly they're trolling me because I didn't know what they really do. So yeah, let's make a song and send this asshole a song since he said send him something. So when I heard it, I was like, this is not, they don't want me to rap on it. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, you know what? 2 years later, they still asking about it. Pull it up. Let's put some bars on it.
Which we found out, by the way, because we went to Eskay's site.
Yeah.
And we saw that you had a blog that you had put out, a vlog.
Yeah.
That I was laying the verse on. I was recording.
In Miami, we heard it.
Yeah. I stopped real work. This was on somebody's dime, bro. At this point, shit was going on in my life, dog. So I stopped that session and was like, let me knock this out for the homies. And the engineer heard that shit and looked at me and was like, now, you just played beats from Pharrell. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got some stuff. You're about to lay this right now. I'm like, yes, we about to lay that bitch.
And they went on tour.
Yeah, damn right. That shit was cool, man. I'm not tripping.
It's pretty great.
So you stopped real work to do It's the Real work.
That's right.
For sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I knew what I said.
Yeah.
I'm glad y'all caught it. Yeah.
Eskay, can we talk about monetization versus exposure?
Ooh, a serious question.
Because you built a site that you know, it was a passion project. You started it. You were still living at home. You had a day job.
He was Batman the whole time.
Yeah.
Nobody ever got to see him.
Yeah. Like
insane.
You were just doing work on off hours. You were doing work on hours. You were working all the time, and you built something, and it just, your goal wasn't to get popular. It became popular. So when do you decide, well, this can be a real business and a real career for me?
So, you know, eventually I'm doing this thing. I'm getting traffic. I'm getting visitors. I'm getting engagement. People start to ask, hey, can I run an ad on your site? Labels are reaching out, hey, we have this campaign. Can we run an ad here or there? You know, back then I had these ideas like, oh, well, you know, I don't want to run ads from just anybody, or I don't want to, you know, sometimes you feel like maybe I'm going to be a sellout if I advertise certain things on my site, but at a certain point, you realize, like, this is a revenue stream here. Like, this is a real thing. You know, long story short, I started running ads, and before I knew it, I was making more money from the site than I was from my full-time job in tech.
Yes.
And
He was getting money.
That's the goal.
you know what I mean? So at a certain point, I'm like, you know,
Fuck it.
I'm going
sorry,
all
I'm sorry.
in. I'm doing this. I handed in my 2 weeks at my job, and I'm going to do this full time.
Dimplez, what did you think about the lay of the land? Like, there are all these blogs. And what's really cool about how the blogs evolved is that they didn't just stay doing that one thing. It wasn't just music discovery. It wasn't just premiering new stuff. It became, and what I think frightened the big buildings was it became all these things at once. It wasn't just eating the lunch of, like, A&Rs or, you know, Tuma over at MTV2 or radio promo people. It was like, hey, I'm going to start premiering, like, new videos from these guys, or I'm going to start, you know, finding music on my own from this place, and I'm going to get ahead of everyone else. What do you think about the evolution of the blogs and how that became a thing?
As I was living it, I loved it. Like, everyone was in their different spaces, and they had all this power and this ability to, like, either make or break an artist by just genuinely either fucking with their music or not. And being on, like, the outside, and I keep phrasing it this way because I work at a label now, but being on the outside, that shit is exciting, right? Because it boils down to the quality of the work. And then I remember we'd see conversations where it's like, man, how'd they get that record? Or, you know, going on, you heard that new, how'd he get that Beyonce record? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people were getting songs before their buildings were seeing them and sharing them, and you were getting real-time feedback and discussions from people who were consuming these things. It was just very, very interesting to navigate. Now it's a little bit different, but back then it was just kind of like, it was the wild, wild west, and they're telling you, these guys may be the bandits, but they're the Robin Hood, right? It's like, at the end of the day, they're not gonna rob you, but you're gonna be all right. You're like, you know, you'll be all fine. Whereas now, it's just kind of like, there is no gatekeeper to kind of do that same thing.
Eskay, how did you get your songs?
You gonna tell them now?
I feel like there's like a, you know, yeah, like nobody's gonna get arrested.
No one's gonna get arrested,
Yeah.
but I'm like, you gonna tell them now?
Yeah.
Statute of limitations over?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of ways. Like, when I first started, it was a lot of just trolling the internet, forums, the deep, dark corners of the internet where people would post leaked songs, collecting stuff there.
Artists were sending them to you direct.
So soon, once you get a little attention and people start to notice, now artists start sending you their stuff. People with the labels are sliding you stuff on the side, under the table. So there were a lot of different sources, Basically, I would open my inbox. After a certain point, I would just open my inbox and it would be MP3, 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 so.
Currency, can you talk about all the label meetings that you started taking in like 08, 09 when people were watching these blogs?
Yeah, you would walk into the meeting and it's on the computer. Like they're on Perfection, listening to the record that you dropped that morning before you got in there and shit. But the crazy part about the meeting, my bad, is that they would immediately try to change the shit you're doing in the meeting. Like, we found you on this, but can you not do this kind of stuff? Like, that's what those were about.
What's the worst meeting that you had at a label?
Me and Diddy, okay, now I broke the desk in Bad Boy. I didn't take the meeting. Everybody panicked so much about the desk that I broke, I just dipped.
Wait, how did you break the desk?
They was trying to find somewhere to play the music. They were like setting up some radio to play the music and all that shit because I didn't have a flash drive. Maybe that was the new thing at that point. I was just, how I was doing shit. So I had a disc, bro. I didn't have a flash drive. I was like, y'all find something to put on it. The component stereo falls through the thing. Everybody's freaking out about like not even Puff, like somebody else who was gonna have a baby about the desk. And I'm like, well, just, you know what? Fuck it, I dipped, Let's go blog era.
All these artists had their own favorite websites. If you were Big Crit, you loved the smoking section. If you were J. Cole, you loved DC to BC, Pardon Me Duke. If you were Joel Ortiz, you loved, Not Right? Spitta, what was your go-to? What was your blog diet?
On Smash, Now Right, Two Dope Boys, Perfection. And then I felt like all hip-hop was like the source. I felt like I was like a magazine or something. Like, they got too much graphics. It's too fancy, you know what I'm saying? But I would go, I think that's, if I got to do like that, then that's not them, yeah, so that's about right.
Eskay, at this point, like Currency said, you were Batman. You were behind the scenes. Nobody knew who you looked like or anything. A lot of people thought you were white.
No, we knew better.
So
I saw 100 people who I thought was you, for sure. At stuff that I knew you were on or at, I was like, yep, that's bruh. And it was never you. It was this dude. Like, it was fucking this guy. It's not you.
What's the wildest rumor that you heard about you or Not Right?
I don't know. Like you said, people thought I was white or that. The main thing was he's getting paid by the artists or the labels to post all this stuff. Like, believe me, I wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, there was a point we got to where people would offer me money, which I never took, but really early, people were like, oh, you must be, people must be paying. Like, how did this person get on Not Right? It just wasn't the case,
Yeah. I just want to say right now, by the way, if you guys would like to ask us any questions, you can log into the South by Southwest app and click, I think, Engage. And you can send questions that we will then get on this screen, and we will be able to answer them in the last 15 minutes. So now would be a good time to send questions. Dimplez, you worked for the smoking section. What made the smoking section special was the level of writing and the amount of writing that was done. Eskay had a website that was straight to the point. Put the music up, give
3 words.
3 words, yeah. And you understand who Mickey Fax is and what he's about in that very short thing. But if you wanted context, if you wanted to learn more about what an artist was really saying, you went to the smoking section. And what's crazy is seeing what people like John Gotti and David Dennis and Justin Tinsley have gone on to do. What did you feel was special about that site?
I think it was that. It was a journalist's approach to blogging. Because it's like a lot of people don't know Gotti has a master's in English. Like that man can write his ass off. David D's like an educator. Tinsley's like a full-time journalist. Trent, journalist. Like, do you know what I mean? Like we all like, the approach was this thing that we love. How do we document it like historians? And how do we share it in a way that if you come back to it, it paints a vivid picture of this moment right now?
And so, like, none of these people are local to, like, you don't live near one another.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, so Gotti was in Nashville. TC was in Virginia. Tinsley was in D.C. I think David was in Atlanta at the time. I was in Phoenix. We were, for the longest time, I know how everybody thought you were white. We thought Tinsley was Asian. Like, we would go to A3C and be in the same room and be like, oh, there go Tins. And it's like, that's not me. But like that just wound up being the thing. But I think that was the genius of the blog era, where it was like the internet is what connected us. Like, I remember the first time I met Low Key. I was like, bro, I've been talking to you for like 10 years.
And you felt like you knew him.
But I was like, but I know you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because it just didn't matter.
Yeah.
The internet was our level of proximity.
Spitter, who was the first blogger that you ever met?
Damn. Honestly, it might have been Gotti.
Yeah.
Smoking session.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and probably and TC actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. They came to shows, and then they put together this smoking thing I did, Myth Blazers. Like
I designed the graphic.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That was like, that was the content that you guys created for us. Like when you would reach out to artists, when they would put something together for you, it was like perfect for you. You didn't even know you needed to do it. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it was great.
Well, but they became like your whole like
Team.
staff.
Yeah, you could liken it to the way things were in the label. When you get to the label, you're like, well, this is the person who did this for you. This is this is that. The friends you would make in those areas, like they would help with that.
So, okay, if you go on tour back in like 07, 08, 09, how many people are moving with you, and who's like, taking on what responsibilities? Because it feels like this time was just like,
09?
Yeah, it's like
4 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never really had. I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's about maybe 3 people. We're gonna have to bail out if it all go down. I'm straight on the rest of that. It's been like that forever.
Yeah. So you come down to South by Southwest. 09, you're going to like a million different shows.
Just walking down 6th Street,
Yeah.
getting pizza, and as I hear my friends' voices, like, oh, that's the cool kids right there. Fuck it, let's go. And you just walk in and just barge on stage and start hanging out with them. It was the best, bro.
He never pulled a John Connor.
There was a show with.
Do you remember John Connor?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, he would walk around with 100 people with his name on a T-shirt.
Yeah.
He never did that.
Yeah, nah, I used to be light, and then I could just get into everybody's shows. Like, it was us, it was Dime Kennedy, the Cool Kids, Wiz, and I don't even know who actually was rapping. We really was just somewhere, like, we just ended up smoking. I don't know who said it was. We just all kicked it. Then we all went on stage and, like, did shit up. People were just passing phones and shit up. We all just did a song. I don't even know where we were at. Amanda Diva was outside. Like, you just walk and just go in place wherever they give you a mic, you just rap. Just fuck it.
You felt like you were a part of something, though,
Nah, you were. It was insane. It was like All-Star Weekend for the blog. Like, at that time, that was All-Star Weekend, where the players were literally walking through, like, the Olympic Village, hanging out with everybody, high-fiving people who were listening to them and shit, making videos right there. Like, everything was just happening. People were doing whole mixtapes and shit. Me and Wiz did Glass House. Me, Wiz, and Crit did Glass House in a house that we rented somewhere out here. Like, right before I went to Peckerheads. Yeah.
And you didn't have to, like, go through, like, licensing. You didn't have to go through, like, clearances. It was just, like, you record something, send it to
it was
SK,
all good.
out.
Everything was cool, bro.
Yeah.
That was the shit. They'd post a picture with you, with your song.
Yep.
The blog is how I found Max B. Like, that's how, that's how I, like, fell in love with dude music. Like, because every time I would go on, somebody had a new post from him, a new record. I was like, this is crazy. Like, yeah. For sure.
Eskay, you know, and Dimplez, the first time you guys come down to South by, like, South by was notoriously not a hip-hop place. You guys sort of changed that. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was all Gotti, like, you know what I mean? All credit to Gotti. He reached out and he was like, yo, listen, there's this music festival in Austin. I think somebody had reached out to him about doing a showcase, putting a showcase together. He asked me, do you want to get in on this? We'll put our heads together. We'll kind of curate the lineup, figure out what artists we want to bring in. And I was like, absolutely. I had a lot of respect for Smoker Section and Gotti at the time, still do. So yeah, I said absolutely. And you're right, like there wasn't a lot of hip hop that first year, you know. I remember specifically there only being a few showcases here and there. Weren't any big events, like any big official South by Southwest events later in the day. It was quiet for rap. But yeah, it was definitely due to Gotti.
I think another cool thing that comes out of South by Southwest is that you see at like the Smoking Section Now Right showcase, all those artists that were there end up on the XXL cover in 2009. Currency, where were you when you got the call that you were on this cover?
At Mikey Rock's apartment in Chicago, on an air mattress that could only hold air for like 3 hours. But it was love, and then I get a strange call, and bam, it's like, yo, we want to put you on the cover, but don't tell anybody. I'm like, all right, bet. And got off the phone, I'm like, yo, everybody, fucking XXL, just call me, dog. Like, we going to be on the cover. That shit's nuts. Straight up, so it was cool, yeah.
And what did it mean all of a sudden, you know, you left those three big labels. You're bigger than just your region. You are now on the cover of a national magazine. International magazine. You're everywhere. All these labels are calling, knocking on your door, and you're not just like one of thousands on a blog. You're one of 10 on a cover. What did that mean to you?
That I could really like write my own ticket. Like at that point, if I wanted to do something with, if I wanted to take one of these calls or break a desk, then I could. Or if I didn't want to, then I didn't have to. Yeah.
It's unreal, and I think that this whole podcast is a roller coaster ride, and there's a lot of ups and a lot of downs, a lot of drama.
No broken desks.
No broken desks.
Yeah.
But it is a wild story. But we want to like concentrate here on this as more of a celebration. So I just want to mention some other blogs: Two Dope Boys, Fake Shore Drive. You heard that new on Smash, Misinfo, Crunk and Disorderly,
Real Talk New York.
Real Talk New York. Karen Civil, who was just here. A lot of people made a lot of noise, and there were a lot of voices that never got heard before that got on. When you guys think of bloggers of that time, who do you think of? When you think of artists that encapsulate the blog era, who do you think of? And is there a song, a specific song that you think of from the blog era? We can do it one by one, Spitta. What bloggers do you think of back then?
My first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, all right.
All right.
You want Jeff to go?
All right. Well, nah. We spoke on the phone, and I told y'all about. Is that her? What was her name though?
Heather.
Heather from Perfection.
Yep.
That's that. I think of that first because when I went to the XXL shoot, Charles Hamilton was checking the song that he had just posted. And that it had spread that far, that she had it already, you know what I'm saying? So that was cool. And so I think of that. And the fact that she landed on the Hudson and walked across the wing.
Crazy.
She was in that plane.
Sully.
When Sully crashed, or Sully saved the plane.
Saved them.
Yeah.
And what song?
Yeah. What song most takes you back to that point?
Jeez, bro.
You could make one up.
I don't even know. Honestly, I don't know. We were all doing so much stuff, bro. I don't know, man. Glass House, you know what I'm saying? Because it was all my homies on it, but I don't want to think of a record that I was on. You know, maybe Brooklyn Girls, because Charles Hamilton was checking the fucking status of it on the site in there, you know?
Yeah.
We could also say Glass House by Slaughterhouse. So, like, you know, we can keep the, yeah.
Dimplez, what blogger, what song, and what artist do you think of from the blog era?
Off top, I think of Two Dope Boys and what Mecca and Shake did. Off top, the project I would actually go with is Cool Kids, The Bake Sale.
Yeah.
That's like
Now I feel ridiculous.
Cool Kids, The Bake Sale. And what was the last one?
A song.
A song.
A song. Oh, this is tough. But it would have to be Nipsey's Blue Laces too. Yeah.
Eskay, blogger, song, and artist?
As far as the bloggers, I'm going to shout out my brethren from the New Music Cartel.
Yeah.
So obviously Shake and Mecca, Low, Splash, X, Info, Mikey, all of them. Love to them forever. Song, Black Mags by the Cool Kids.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yo, Spitta, you sound
Correct.
ridiculous.
Ridiculous,
You
bro.
look ridiculous.
I said I was at their house when I got the call. So they're in the fabric of my fucking life. I don't have to say Black Mags, nigga.
All right, let's take some questions from the crowd. I see on this board that someone said, in a digital age where everything is so accessible and the problem is filtering content out, how do we distribute content effectively to help promote that? Let's talk to our marketing whiz, Dimplez.
Oh, this is going to be very tough because you're not going to like this answer. In a digital age where everything is accessible and the problem is filtering things out, the onus is on the artist in order to build their own audience, right?
Boo.
I know, everybody hates that. I'm not telling you to go on TikTok, I swear. But you got to build an audience. I think what made the blog era so special is artists would wind up on the blogs and then they would go on tour, like Currency's talking about it. We'd go on tour and you'd go to these cities and you'd build this audience that's going to buy your shit. What's happening right now with everything being accessible is people are putting out music, but nobody's listening. You couldn't sell a T-shirt if it was $1. Go build your audience first. Go outside. Go do a show. Get people to fuck with you. Put out more music. Rinse, repeat. And then we can talk about how do you get your content out more. The issue is people want to put the cart before the horse. The internet in being accessible, people are like, well, if I get 100,000 followers, I must be on. But if you can't sell a $1 T-shirt, are you really? Yeah.
Real shit.
So, yeah, my bad.
Eskay, for those that missed the blog era, what do you think is our modern day equivalent, and is there one?
I don't think there is one. I mean, I think the closest thing we have is probably Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You know, that's how people discover music now. So, like, some combination of those social media platforms, everybody kind of has, like, their own little tailored homepage or feed, you know what I mean, that you've tailored yourself. The algorithm might contribute to it a bit, but like there really is no, but that's, you know, that's you curating your own taste. There's no equivalent to what we were doing at the time, you know, that I can think of at least.
The only thing that kind of came a little bit close was when Tuma launched Rap Caviar, because you had to go through Tuma.
Yeah, the playlist.
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be it.
But it's like, I go to Nah Right because I trust him. You know, I went
I
to...
was just gonna say
Literally,
trust, bro.
trust.
It was a trust thing. Like, he not gonna post it if it's whack, because somebody would tell him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you're just not gonna do that.
Did you ever go in the comment section of Nah Right?
His shit got fucked at one point. I used to check the comments and they would say, great song, spill a great song. I checked the comments and it was like, Transformers the movie coming out. Something. I'm like, what happened to the comments? Everything was about something else. Can we speak to that? What
Absolutely.
happened?
Yeah, we talk about that on the podcast.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, is it okay? Can we talk about it?
Yeah, I mean,
Talk about it.
yeah, so like the Not Right comment section, notorious comment section, but it was a community, you know, and these people who would be on this site commented were there every day. So it was like, you know, for me, particularly when I started, I'm at my 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And from that 10 to 6, 9 to 5 that I'm at work, I'm spending like probably 3-4 hours of my day on this site talking, debating, arguing, you know, whatever with all the people who are there every day. So it kind of turned into like what the hip hop forums that preceded us were, where you would have these running conversations, but obviously the site format is different, so I'm posting new music every hour, half an hour, whatever. So every hour you have a new fresh post on the top of the site, and there would be this running conversation about whatever we were talking about over the course of that day, and it would just kind of move from post to post, and it would continue on and on and on.
But with no notifications. So like people would just like follow it wherever it went.
Right. So yeah, and you know the not right comments, like I said, notorious. They didn't give a fuck what anybody, they think, you think about people coming in who don't spend a lot of time reading the comments, and they click, and so many people will be like, "What the fuck are y'all talking about?" Like, but we were just having our own conversation.
Yeah.
What was the?
But if a record label went on there and they're like, "Oh my God, 579 comments,"
For
they
sure.
don't care if you're talking about like conspiracy theories. They're just like,
engagement.
"Yo, this rapper is popping."
Sign him.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
They were definitely gassed. I'm
Exactly
sure.
right. Exactly right. You gonna say?
I was gonna say something very interesting, but
Oh, I'm
you
sure.
can go. Yeah.
All right. Do you feel, even though the blog era is technically over, how do you recommend an upcoming artist recommend an upcoming artist a way to spread their discography and image nowadays?
That's probably for Dimplez.
I would say Dimplez.
Is
yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound very strange. Be good. Like a great way for artists to spread their discography and image right now, especially with everything being so accessible, is be good, be great. If you're a rapper, like rap. Don't sing unless you're Drake, but yeah, be good. Because I think that's undervalued. I think, and this is no shade to this person, because I'm sure you're amazing. But I think people feel like because they have the accessibility to do it, they should. And people don't focus as much on being great at the skill before they worry about everything else.
Yeah, I just want to say this, and I call Spitta all the time and tell him this. His body of work is unbelievable because he cares about it so much. You're not just doing
Absolutely.
anything.
Thanks, bro.
You're
you do
great.
call and say that.
I do.
You do. You do, bro.
Or I'll
There's
call you and I'll
always
be
flowers.
like, I'm like, Nas is wearing Jet Life, and you're like,
Yeah,
it's,
nah.
it's
Every time something happens, you call, bro. I'm honored. Thank you, bro.
no, my pleasure.
It's real. I love. Well, I hate to keep saying real while we're here.
No, please. It helps our brand awareness. I want to take it back to 2005 for a second, because there's somebody asked, what are some things you knew at the beginning stage of your career that you learned years later? So I just want to, eskay, if you can take it back, what was your life like in 2005? And then what are some lessons that you wish that you knew back then?
I mean, that's tough. That's kind of a tough question because if I had to say something, you grow up as a hip-hop fan listening to, like, Q-Tip tell you that industry people are shady, but you don't understand that, or you don't think that applies to you because you're not an artist. I'm just a blogger. Like, that has nothing to do with me. I'm sure they are shady, but, I don't have a record deal, so.
Well, eskay, we got 11 minutes, 45 seconds. Just name every shady industry person you can.
Go.
Need another week, at least. But, yeah, I mean, it's just, I didn't understand that would extend to, like, everybody in the industry. Like, I'm sure you all have your own experiences and stories you could tell. I'm sure everybody in this room, if you work in the industry, has a story or an experience that they could share of shadiness. Just a lot of, I didn't understand the extent of the backbiting and infighting and bullshit that you got to deal with,
Well, how about this? For somebody who started his project just, out of passion, out of love, and with no expectations, you pissed a lot of people off. You got a lot of big buildings really mad at you. How did it feel for you to suddenly be on a level that they are coming after you?
It was crazy, You wake up one day and all of a sudden these people care about you, about who you are, They either want their artist on your website or they want their artist music off your website for whatever reason. So it's kind of crazy, Like, I didn't expect that to happen, but it is what it is.
I think a lot of people are obviously like wondering where you've been, what the site's been up to. We get to answering those questions on the podcast. We're not going to talk about them today, but given some time, given some perspective, when you look back at the blog era, how do you feel about the work that you put in?
I feel good about it, you know. I'm very proud of what I and my contemporaries contributed to the music industry. It didn't really hit me until recently, maybe like, I mean, I understood when it was happening that what was happening was important, but with time, like you said, when you look back at it and people come to you and tell you like, yo, you were so influential in what I do now, or, you know, as an artist, all I wanted to do was be on your site. You know, as a blogger, like I started out as a blogger because I read your site, and now I'm a full-fledged journalist. You know, that stuff, like, I love to hear those stories. That's amazing. Like, to think that I had any impact on this culture at all is incredible to me. Like, if that's my legacy, like, I'll take it. You know what I mean? I'm proud to have contributed whatever.
Dimplez, you weren't just at South by in 2009. You came back the next year, and the next year after that, and the next year after that.
Queen of South by Southwest.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Crown me.
Yeah.
Kelly Young asked, what's your favorite South by Southwest memory during the blog era? You told us some pretty good ones last night.
Oh, okay. I have the year before Kendrick broke the stage doing that show. I believe was it a Vibe show?
I think when he broke the stage was at Ilmore.
Ilmore.
Yeah.
No, it was Ilmore. The year before, he was walking around Vibe's show, and no one knew who he was. Well, like, they knew-ish, but didn't really care. They're like, oh, hey, Kendrick. Cool. That was probably one of my favorite moments, just watching like Chasing Cash and Hit Boy, Surf Club walk around, being mad regular before he had like a Jay-Z record. Wonderful. Love that for them. But my personal favorite moment would have to be 2011, seeing Chance the Rapper. No, it was 2012, apologies. Seeing Chance the Rapper and SZA, and no one knew who SZA was. This is before Z. At not the convention center, but the venue that's over here. Is it ACL? Also City Limits? Yes, ACL? Okay. At ACL, and people were there for Chance. But they were just like, who's this random girl? It's great. That was probably one of my favorite moments.
What about the basketball?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even talk about Hoop and Hang. We used to do like a 3x3 tournament with artists and media, and they would play each other. So it was like seeing like Mike Shaw and J. Cole play TC, because TC thinks he can hoop. But Shaw and Cole went to school to play basketball. So that was very interesting. Or like Crit thinking he could hoop, and Crit couldn't hoop. Don't tell him that, but Dutch could.
Yeah.
So like it was just kind of like, all right. But like that whole experience was great, because I think the first Hoop and Hang we did was in 2011, and then the second one was 2012, and in 2012 Nike got involved. So it was like, oh, okay. Like, because the first one, Adidas just send us stuff like, all right, do your thing. But 2012, Nike got involved.
Yeah. Speaking of Nike, shout out to Tidal. Shout out to New Era hats.
Yeah, shout out to Monster Energy.
Unleash the Beast. Yeah.
Currency, you know, we get into a lot of descriptions of how like times have changed. You know, when we talked to DJ Drama on the podcast, we were like, you know, what's the signifier of where you were back then to where you are now? And he was like, well, or what mixtapes did for his career. And he was like, well, I went from a Montero to a Mercedes. And so I want to know how dirt the weed was back in 2007 when you were here.
Yeah, it was of cooking quality. I believe a lot of it was seasoning, but it got us through. It was just the good times, you know what I'm saying? It has improved a great deal.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, nah, great deal. Shout out to the homie who's from here. I met him in the airport. As soon as I landed, he's like, Spit, I know you probably straight, but I'm the you out here. I was like, all right. He put me in motion too, yeah.
Spitter, do you remember the first time that you met SK?
Yeah, I believe it was at It was at the event. It was at that joint out here.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and the best part is me and my manager got pulled over, and he ate all the weed. And when we got there, he was fucking roast. He could not really manage. He couldn't manage. Good thing I knew what I had to do, because if it was up to like management to tell me like what time, like bro was looking for furniture to keep himself up right on. It was good. So I know you didn't ask me what my memory was. Well, that's my fucking
That's a
top
great
one.
memory. That's a great memory.
Marcus Joseph asks, do you feel like the blog era could make a comeback in a new way through the metaverse? What moves are you making with the use of new technology such as AI, etc.? I'm going to say no, but...
That's not a real question, is it?
No, the answer is no.
I was right?
You're correct.
Yes.
And the reason why it's no is because in every iteration, we're going to run into the same issue, right? And I know we talk about it in the blog podcast, the blog era podcast, but the death of the blog era was labels trying to monetize. Point blank, period. The issue with the metaverse is the moment you have music on there, you got publishers that need their cash. Like, when people start trying to monetize, you're screwed.
What if they're fake artists that are like created?
Oh, and that's a great question.
Yeah.
AI cannot own a trademark. You use AI, you screwed. You can't protect it. So it's like, use the tech if you want.
What if you put AI when he was rapping?
Oh, okay, yeah, no, he's fine.
Okay, okay.
He got blood and bones. Yeah, respect.
Yeah, I think we need more human curation, not AI. Like, what are we
Absolutely.
doing? You know, do we want to go more towards computer algorithms, or do we want people who know music to curate music?
SK, you're saying that as a human, so like take that with a grain of salt.
So we should ask Siri?
Yeah.
I mean, no shots at AI. I don't, you know.
But I think one thing that's more important than just like being a human is that like you were your own boss. Like the buck stopped with you, right? And that's what's special at the time. Same thing with Spitta.
Yeah, also that SK had singular taste and was very like unwavering in that.
But I think what makes this era like one of a kind is that everyone was their own boss. You know, they didn't have anyone to answer to for a time.
We had no business doing half the shit we were doing.
Real.
Just to be very candid.
None.
Like none whatsoever. Bro, I was making websites.
Yeah.
I went to physical therapy school. Like, we had no business doing what we were doing. But I think, and I can't speak for SK, but I think when it came to like TSS, it was like, if they're not gonna let us in, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I found myself in a room with J and B and Tata. Like, what am I doing here? Like, well, how am I here? You know,
no business.
Wait, why is
Real
this coming
life?
up 58 minutes into this thing? How did you end up in this room?
That was the American Gangster listening session.
Yeah. So
You had to be though.
yeah, listen, this thing, the blog era, which is a podcast that you all should go and spread the word on, by the way, but definitely go to that right there. You can go to the QR code and go to the website.
I just saw the QR code come up and it just goes, yeah, underneath it. I was like, it's really good.
But this is a project that really means a lot to Jeff and myself because we came up in that same era. We were outside with J. Cole. We were running around with Low Key. Like, seeing this time memorialized in the right way matters to us. And that's why we spent the last 3 years on the phone during the pandemic talking to people.
I thought y'all just liked me.
Oh, well, we really do like
Okay.
you. But
Yeah, right. We spoke to 150 people, but it's really a podcast of one.
That's right.
And then we
Thank you.
invited these two other guys here for some reason
Appreciate
too.
it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
but it matters. Like this time has not been documented. We didn't want just anybody.
Well, that's the thing. So like, so much of this stuff has disappeared even from the internet, which is wild. Like you would think that even though it happened like not that long ago, it would still exist.
Websites don't exist. Mega upload files are not there. Zshare links have expired.
And so all we really have is, you know, people's memories. And this oral history really like is able to tell that story in a real and meaningful way.
Yeah, so we're really honored that you guys let us tell your story. Let us tell our story. Jeff and myself, we were making sketch videos so that eskay and his readership would appreciate what we were putting out there. Like, we put that on a weekly basis, not for MTV, not for agents somewhere. It was like, let's be niche and let's do this about something we care about. And without Not Right, without all the blog community, we're not sitting here today. So I want to say thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts for owning your own shit, making your own shit, and leaving a lasting legacy. And that's real. Guys, I'm Eric.
I'm Jeff.
We're It's The Real, and this
Unleash
project.
that beast. What?
Yeah. This project is called The Blog Era. Please do check it out wherever podcasts are streaming. Go sign up right now and spread the word on it. blogera.fm. Go there right now. Thanks to Spitta. Thanks to Dimplez. Thanks to Eskay. Thank you all, guys, for showing up. We appreciate it.